A very good morning to everyone. Sorry, a very good evening to everyone. Welcome to another session of the SISB School Curriculum Virtual Event Series. I'm Principal Jason, who will be the moderator for tonight's event. Next. Our main focus of discussion tonight will be on what is the difference between the A-level curriculum and the IB curriculum. So joining me in tonight's virtual event will be Dr. Jamie Beaton, co-founder and CEO of Crimson Education. And Dr. Jamie will be our guest speaker for tonight's event. We have also invited Float, our current grade 12 A-level student, and Julie, our current grade 12 IB student, who will be joining us during the Q&A session to answer questions that parents and students may have with regards to these two curricula from a student's point of view. So parents and students, next. Some of you might be wondering, right? At the end of the A-level and the IB DP journey, where do the students go? Which universities have they applied to? So these are the university offers our IBDP students class of 2022 have received. So as you can see, they have received a wide range of universities from UK, US, Asia Pacific region. So from University of Cambridge, Imperial College, King's College in UK, and then to USA, they have received offers from University of San Diego, University of British Columbia, University of Toronto in USA and Canada, and to University of Hong Kong, Tsinghua University in the Asia Pacific region, and so on. So I would say our IB students have done really well in their university application. When I refer to this, I'm talking about the class of 2022 this year, right? Next. And equally significant, I would say, our A-level students have also done equally well. In fact, 13 students have received medical and dentistry offers from universities in Thailand. And others have gone on to receive offers comparable to, I would say, A-level students. They have received offers from around the world in the Asia Pacific region, in UK, and in USA. Next. So, next. So we are very honored today to have with us our guest speaker, Dr. Jamie Beaton, co-founder and CEO of Crimson Education, who will be our guest speaker tonight to share about the differences between the A-level and the IB DP program. And so that parents, at the end of this session, we hope that you can take away valuable information about the key features, the differences between the A-level and the IB diploma program. Next. So before I hand over to Dr. Jamie, let me just introduce his profile. As you can see from the PowerPoint slide over here, it is impressive. And that's why I think today's session will be a very, very informative session from someone that has gone through the entire education, the entire international education system, and has gone on to obtain outstanding credential, right? So just let me briefly introduce our guest speaker. Dr. Jamie graduated from Harvard University in 2016 with a double degree in applied mathematics, economics, and applied mathematics. He is the youngest ever admitted to Stanford Graduate School of Business, which he graduated with an MBA and Master of Arts in Education with the A.J. Miller Award. And this award is awarded to the top 10% of the cohort. He then completed his PhD in public policy on a Rhodes Scholarship and is currently pursuing a Juris Doctor at Yale Law School. He is the co-founder and CEO of Crimson Education, and Crimson Education has grown under his leadership to a network of over 20,000 students and over 2,300 mentors. So may I now pass on to Jamie, who will be sharing with us about the differences between the A-level and the IB curriculum. Jamie, please.
Thank you so much, and it's a real pleasure to be here. The first thing I would say is what an amazing set of university results we just saw from both the A-level and the IB pathway. You can really see that clear progress all the way through these credentials to these amazing schools. Today, I hope to give the school community a sense of exactly how you should consider each curriculum and what types of students should choose which one. I hope to give you some insight into how each curriculum works, what good grades look like in the various curriculums, and hopefully be able to answer any questions you have throughout the session about this as well. Now, I guess beyond simply considering these curriculums, it's worth noting that both these paths are going to be fundamental to helping to build these critical life skills for you in terms of these hard skills in math, English, science, economics, and stuff, English, that will really serve you well at university. It was my foundation in A-levels, for example, in math and English, that really helped me to thrive when it got to schools, like Harvard, Stanford, Oxford, and beyond. And I want to make sure that students really have that long-term view when they're thinking about curriculum, because this is ultimately the curriculum you finish high school with and the curriculum that will be, training you to thrive at university. So firstly, what's an A-level? Let's start with the basics so everyone's on the same page. There's a bit of jargon around these things, so hopefully I can decode it for you. The A-level really is typically taken in the last 2 years of high school, and they're made up of two components, the AS and the A2. Normally, a student takes an AS subject in their second to last year of high school and the A2 in that final year. Now, normally your final A-level grade that you're applying to university with is going to be approximately a weighted average of your AS and your A2 grade. So keep in mind a full A-level is not like this 1 year thing, but it's this thing that takes basically 2 years to complete. Now, unlike the IB, where it's really all these exams at the end of your 2 years, you can just do the AS subject and stop there. So a lot of students will typically take a range of AS subjects, like say 6 or 5, then drop down to usually 3 or 4 A-level subjects. So this can be the case if, for example, a student is taking a subject like, say, AS math, but they don't want to take the A2 math, but they still want to have some math in their program. There's also some universities that require AS English as an example, if you're doing the A-level path, but many schools don't require A2 English. So it's quite common for me to see a student who has, for example, AS English Literature or Language, but then they dropped out at the A2 level. Regardless, keep in mind that most students will be taking 3 to 4 A levels by the time they finish. Now, the thing about A levels is you're not taking that many subjects. And so the focus in the A levels is really on depth, it's on quality, it's on mastery. So the idea here, which comes from the British system, is that when you apply to, say, a school in the UK, for example, I got into Cambridge for economics. My entire degree would be just in the single area of economics, which means I don't necessarily need to have such a broad range of subjects. And that's really the context for which the system was designed, which is why it's quite narrow, but again, quite deep. So keep in mind that depth focus in the curriculum. Now, prior to the AS and A level, you also do what we call the IGCSE, or the International General Certificate of Secondary Education. Glad I remembered all of those words. Now, this IGCSE, qualification normally involves between about 5 to 6 subjects. Some students can do more. In some countries, for example, in the UK, some kids do up to 10 GCSEs, but normally for IGCSE, it's quite appropriate to take 5 to 6. I, for example, took 6 myself. If I remember correctly, I did math, English, biology, chemistry, physics, and French. And then I moved on to my AS and A2 subjects. Now, as I mentioned before, you really want to have these strong foundations in math and English. Basically, whatever pathway you go down, you can't escape a bit of success in both these things, because math's going to be fundamental for all the sort of data analysis, statistics in any of your degrees that you do. Whether you do finance, whether you do business, this is always going to be pretty useful. So you want to have a bit of a foundation there. When it comes to English, similar is true. When you write your application essays, you're going to use English. When you're in the job market, you're going to use English. When you're in all of these degree programs, you're going to have to write essays. For example, at Harvard, I had a lot of compulsory classes in areas like ethical reasoning, comparative religion, negotiation, global health, even a writing seminar, which required my English skills. Beyond those kind of areas in math and English, there's really not many restrictions on what you can take. Some students will take things like, marine science and geography and economics. Other students might do biology, chemistry, and physics. And the good thing about this is that it allows you to really specialize on those niches that you really enjoy. So if you're the kind of student who isn't that interested in science and loves humanities, this is wonderful, because you can actually exclude the science subjects and rock those humanities subjects. Now, if you're a student who likes breadth or a wide range of subjects, you can still actually quite effectively achieve that broad range of subjects through the A levels, which is what I did. But that often involves taking more subjects or mixing it out a little bit. So you can think about that and that trade-off. Now, A levels are definitely rigorously assessed, and the A level is an international qualification that's really set almost all over the world, from New Zealand, where I'm from, to Thailand, to the UK, to India, to China. It's a very international qualification. And so the reason why it's regarded well is this rigorous external examination. That means the kid can be compared across all these markets. So a university in the UK or the US can set these grade boundaries and have comparability across the world. Now, these exams typically take place about 2 or 3 times a year, but often within a given country, there's only really 1 or 2 sittings you're going to focus on, depending on the timetable and what the school's used to. Most of these subjects for each phase, like AS or A2, will usually involve 2 exam units or even 3 exam units. So for example, it's often the case for A-level English literature that you might have 2 different 2-hour papers in that exam. Or for example, if you're doing like AS chemistry, you might have 3 different papers for that exam, normally multi-choice, long answer, and an experimental or practical paper. The students get grades for these exams, and you could be doing really bad all year, study hard for these exams and get some amazing grades. And equally, you could be doing good all year at your school, go into these exams, and if you have a bad day, you're going to get a low grade because it's all based on this final exam. But practically speaking, what I normally see is that students who are doing well throughout the school year will usually get a good grade, and students who are not putting in the effort will not get a good grade in this typically. Now, The A level is out of 100%, but this is like a scaled score. So if you get, for example, 92%, it didn't mean that you got 92% of the marks. Normally it means, you've been scaled to a boundary like this. In some hard subjects, for example, like I think about further mathematics, which is the most challenging math subject offered by the A levels. With further maths, you typically are actually, even if you get like say 70% as your raw score, it will usually scale you up to an A or an A star. So you could see your final percentages in these high grade boundaries, even though you actually got a lower, overall mark. Now, the other context is for IGCSE, you're actually graded out of 9. So like 7, 8, 9 is an A, 5, 6 is a B, etc., etc. Normally, universities will tell you on the website, they won't give you percentages to aim for. They'll give you grade targets. Like we want to see A, B. We want to see B, B, C. We want to see A star, A star, A star. That's the kind of way in which this is usually presented. The top grade you can get is a 9 for IGCSE or an A star for the A level. And normally the best kids in a given school will receive multiple A star grades. Good students will get A's, maybe an occasional B. Pretty strong students will get some B's. And there's also awards available, which are quite cool, like top in the country or top in the world. So I know SISB would be very proud if a student can get a top in the country award, for example, in their A-level exams. Back in high school, I achieved the top in the world award for English literature and also top in the country award for business studies and English language. And these awards helped me on my university application journey because I could put them in my application. So it's quite nice that, A levels give you these extra types of opportunities to earn recognition in your exams. They also have these categories like best across 4 subjects for the highest average percentage across 4 A-level subjects in the country. And that, is a good way to show your skill across a range of subjects. But the key thing is, this is the area in which you want to focus on the fundamentals. And there's a lot of past papers as well. So the good thing about, for example, Cambridge A-levels or Edexcel A-levels is there's so many years of practice exams, which means you can actually study so much for these exams and do so much, preparation, studying, and see how you're doing. So this kind of gives you a sense of what like a pretty good student might look like for their subjects, just a couple of different options. A good student might take, for example, 6 IG subjects and score 4 9s and 2 8s. In this case, the student might score some 9s in English literature, math, history, and biology, maybe some 8s in economics. They might have gone on to 4 AS level subjects here, English literature, history, math, and then 1 A in economics, for example, rather a B in economics. Then over here, the student, maybe could have scored some A stars in English literature, history, math, and economics. Now, this is actually very difficult to jump from these AS grades to these these A2 grades, because normally these A-level grades are made up of about half of these grades. So I would say it's more realistic for these grades to be kind of like similar to these grades. Normally students will find the AS level quite a lot harder than the IG level. So if you're getting A stars or 9s in your IGs, or 9s and 8s, then you can be aiming for A's in the AS level normally. So I'm going to give you now a bit of context around the advantages and disadvantages of the actual A-level curriculum. I won't go through all these points, but a couple of key points to be aware of. Obviously, this is really academically rigorous. So like the good thing is there's no university in the entire world, really, the good ones, that won't take A-levels and consider them rigorous. So when I was at Harvard, I used my A-levels to skip 1 whole year of my degree. I turned up to campus, all these American kids, quite very smart students. And because I had my A-levels in further maths and math and economics and stuff, I was able to skip a year of my degree. And actually, the further maths gave me a good foundation. So I didn't feel like I was behind. I felt like I actually had some good fundamentals. So they are rigorous. Next up, there's actually no limit on how many subjects you can take. So if you're a really smart student and you want to challenge yourself, you can actually pick up extra subjects. You could add things like AS Business or AS English Language, AS Global Perspectives, and there's actually no restriction on that. So that's one of the things I did. I took a lot of extra subjects when I was in school. I took 10 A-levels and 13 AS subjects, which is not recommended for the faint of heart. But if you do want to challenge yourself, is definitely an option. Also, As I said before, when you get to university, these A levels will give you a good foundation. So I'm really comfortable that if you're a student from SISB, you take your A level in, say, math, and you go to a university course that requires math, you're going to have some good fundamentals. The funny thing is, even at Harvard, a lot of these kids who want to do pre-medicine or medicine, there's a course called Life Sciences 1A, LS 1A. And it's funny because a lot of kids say, it's a challenging course, but everything they're learning in that course is in A-level biology, chemistry, or physics. So these students from America are kind of repeating what these kids from the A levels have already done. So it's quite interesting. Under exam style, as I said, no internal assessment. So it's all going to be on the final exam. There are multiple sessions per year, which means you can resit. So if you have a bad exam result and you want to resit it, you can actually resit it, which means that it's not like you only have one set of exams and this is the be all end all of the universe. It actually includes, some options to resit as well. Ideally, you study hard, so you don't need to resit, but, every year I see a lot of students resit and getting good grades. The other thing with this is you can combine, usually like Pearson A levels and Cambridge A levels. You can't combine AS and A2 from two different curriculum providers, but you can do a mixture of A levels depending on what subjects are on offer. Now, some disadvantages. There typically is less languages available for this, for the A levels, less art subjects. So if you're a really humanities focused person, you might want to think carefully about this. Also, there's no like overarching framework of what subjects to take, which means, but it's really good. SISB has got very strong counseling. So of course you can get some good guidance on which subjects you should take, but the IB, it's a bit more like autopilot because they tell you these categories you got to choose from, which means you've got less, ability to deviate from the plan. And then you can't skip straight to A2 exams. You've got to do AS first, then A2. The other thing is that, the standards for the A levels vary by university, but of course that's true for the IB as well. So now, hopefully I still have your attention. We finished the A levels. I'm going to move to the IB. And this is really going to be the key point of comparison for you to think about. The IB, standing for the International Baccalaureate, with the name baccalaureate being derived from the French baccalaureate, which is found in French high schools, but then evolved into this kind of global curriculum, which has become very popular. It was first established in Geneva in 1968. And we've done a bit of consulting for the school that first developed the IB. And it's really amazing to see how this thing's grown. Over the course of 50 years, it's now in nearly 5,000 schools in over 140 countries. And it's set in the last 2 years of high school. It really competes directly with the A levels, basically. As part of the diploma, an IB student will do a couple of different things. 6 subjects, although some students can take more, like 7 if they want to, although it's quite rare. And then there's this thing called CAS, Creativity, Action, and Service. Normally, this basically involves about 50 hours of community service, which can be used towards things like your Duke of Edinburgh qualification. Then there's the extended essay. This is like a several thousand word essay you can write about, which is really the research part of the diploma. Now, as a student at Harvard undergrad, I did a lot of research with different professors and I had to write these longer papers. And the extended essay sort of gives you your first foray into serious research. A levels have got a kind of competing product for this, which is the EPQ or the extended project qualification. But the E is in every single IB student. So all IB students finish this thing. And then finally, there's theory of knowledge, or TOC as it's known in the IB parlance. And this is quite an interesting, long form essay-based response. And actually you get about 42 points from these 6 subjects and 3 points from these subjects. And then the creativity action service is more like a thing you can pass. So the IB, is all about this idea of breadth. And if you think about, Europe and you think about, kind of the desire to be well-rounded, a lot of these folks in Europe speak multiple languages. They prioritize across humanities, math, science. You think about some of these famous thinkers that have sort of skills across, music and math and English languages. The IB is kind of inspired from this belief that a student should be well-rounded. It's a bit different to the A-level philosophy, which typically focuses on deep specialization in a couple of areas. So students here will choose from 6 different groups: language and literature, foreign or second language, mathematics, the arts, individuals and societies, and sciences. In this way, it's kind of similar to university, in which there's actually some specific kind of, target areas that you can choose from. Now, subjects can be taken at either standard level or higher level. So there's two levels, SL or HL, as it's known to the IB crew, and each student usually takes 3 of each. Now, this table on the right shows, for example, a possible combination of subjects. You can do, 3 high level. In this case, the student's doing English, history, and visual arts. Then the student's doing math at SL, biology, and Spanish. And this thing called AB Initio means like sort of introductory Spanish. So if you're, for example, like a fluent Spanish speaker, you would have to take a higher level of Spanish usually. And then if you, for example, are beginning, you can take this Initio class. There's different levels of math as well. There's like 2 different SL options and 2 different higher level options. So there's a broad range for everyone because you have to take math generally in the IB. Now, I mentioned this before, but the IB is actually on a 45-point scale. So if you get 45, you've hit the jackpot, and that's really a fantastic score. 42 comes from these subjects and 3 from EE and TOC. So remember, it's 6 subjects, 7 points per subject. 6 times 7 is 42. Then you have 3 more points from EE and TOC, extended essay and TOC. That adds you to your 45. To pass, you need to get 24 points. But of course, SISB is such an academic school. You don't want to set, you don't just want to aim for 24. You want to aim much higher than that. And, you want to be scoring ideally in the, mid 30s or above. That will be considered a pretty good score. So normally, if you're doing this IB program, you're doing a bit of community service, which you're doing about twice a week for about 18 months. And you want to keep this portfolio of your community service activities, which then the school will usually sign off to approve your CAS has indeed been completed. Now, theory of knowledge is really this kind of philosophical, kind of inquiry-based class. Often you're exploring these areas traditional, A-level students won't be exposed to, like ethics, history, religious knowledge, etc. And when I was at Harvard, I took a class in ethical reasoning, and I did okay because I had a good English foundation, but I wasn't exposed to a lot of this thinking before. But IB students who take TOC are exposed to that area through this. So it's definitely quite interesting. And it's assessed through an internal presentation and an external essay. So this is actually something graded by the school. And it's something you can actually prepare for. You already know what you're presenting on. So this part of the IB exam is not like going to be a surprise. Rather, it's more like something that you put in the preparation for and then you can do well in. Then there's the magic extended essay. Students all around the world have cold shivers when it comes to the extended essay sometimes. This is 4,000 words, including a short interview, and it's quite a long, challenging piece of work, but it does prepare you well for university. But that actually is often one of the longer pieces of writing students in high school do. So keep in mind, you do have to write this, but you do have plenty of time to write it and develop it. It's not the kind of thing you can leave to the last minute because it is quite long. So now, what is the really advantages of this thing? Well, this is like a multilingual, well-rounded, cross-disciplinary diploma, but it forces you to stay broad. So if you hate math, or you don't really like English so much, or you don't want to do a language, the IB diploma is not going to be your friend. However, if you're a well-rounded student, this is quite fantastic because really you're getting recognition for all these different niches you enjoy. There's plenty of subjects available, and it's a combination of internal assessment and external assessment. However, what I would say is 42 of these points are going to be externally assessed. So it's not like you can get that many points from internal assessment. So get ready for some good exam results. If anything, I would say this is a bit more high stakes than the A levels because with the A levels, you sit your subjects over 2 years. But with the IB diploma, you sit all your final exams in one final sitting, which definitely means the pressure is on in that final phase for our students. The marking is regarded as being pretty strong and consistent, which is nice. Although the A levels has got a fairly similar reputation, although every year there's some challenges with it sometimes. And definitely the high level subjects are very rigorous. So if you take high level math, that's kind of the equivalent to A level further maths. High level English is very challenging. So this is definitely considered a well-rounded international curriculum. Similar to A levels, I consider it a bit of an international passport where you can basically go to any global university and they're very proud to receive the IB diploma. Now, there's some sort of, interesting quirks. If you want to go into medicine, then the IB diploma can be a little bit spicy because you can only normally take 2 science subjects very easily in the diploma. However, of course, if you want to do medicine, you can choose biology and chemistry and you're fine. But a lot of students do biology, chemistry, and physics. So, that is a challenge which, normally students would take the A levels for. Some schools will limit you to 3 high-level subjects, but often that's fine for most students because 4 is a bit challenging. Normally, there's a program before the IB called the middle years program, and that program is not considered to be as rigorous. So often students will do the IGCSE instead of MYP, and they'll move into the IB, although MYP is good for certain types of students, by all means. As mentioned before, this is high stakes. You got one opportunity at the end of 2 years to sit this exam, and predicted scores can often be, a bit inaccurate depending on, when they're made of the student. That means that, you can be disappointed if you don't study as hard or you don't get the exam results you want. Definitely keep that in mind. So, I think the key thing about these curriculums is, really the curriculum will have an impact on your style of thinking. It can make you, a well-rounded thinker across a lot of different areas or a really specialized expert in a couple of main themes. A levels normally make you analytical, cool under pressure because you sit a lot of exams throughout these 2 years. And normally you have this very deep, thorough knowledge of certain fields. So for example, folks that have finished A-level economics or A-level sciences normally have that deep knowledge in those areas. IB creates these holistic thinkers who often like to do more cross-disciplinary subjects, critical thinkers. And because of things like the extended essay, the IB students often become quite independent in their thinking, where the students doing the A-levels typically are learning a lot of content from the practice exams. And so they won't necessarily be as creative in their thinking, but they will be really good at mastering content. And both are fine approaches, just depends on what you need. So here's a couple of interesting examples of like what kind of schools you get into. So let's say you, for example, got a 26 in the IB diploma. That would probably mean you're aiming for schools below US top 50. This would be fine, but this wouldn't be the most competitive schools. 26 in the IB diploma usually translates to about B.C. in your A levels. So that kind of means you can get into some universities for sure, but that, there'll be some restrictions on what you can take. If you have 36 in the IB diploma, you're probably looking to be scoring around top 40, top 30 in the world. And that's equivalent to probably about, AAA or so in these subjects. And then if you're getting, say, 40 in the IB diploma or maybe A star, AA, that's starting to open up some of the world's top 10 schools, some of the Ivy League schools, etc. You're becoming to look quite competitive for those schools. And then the students who are really, for example, my student Crystal Sang, she got into Oxford with a 43 in the IB. My other students, like for example, Lena Cho, got into Harvard with a 45. My students that get into Harvard often have 5 A stars, 6 A stars, 4 A stars. So that kind of shows you the spectrum of different grades and what it tends to do from a university perspective. So now I guess the question on your mind as a parent or as a student, which is really the question you want to be thinking about, is there a better curriculum? And like life, and many times there is no simple answer, but the answer basically is, it really depends on which curriculum you'll do better in, because the same student could struggle in the IB, but thrive in the A levels because they can dodge certain subjects they're not very good at. And other students will actually enjoy the well-rounded nature of the IB diploma, and it will play well to their strengths and future goals. So it's really about thinking about, what your particular goals are and in which curriculum you're going to pursue, with more rigor and success. You want to think about subject availability in your school. You want to think about where your weaknesses are, and then kind of make a decision around this. Regardless of whatever you choose, both these curriculums are really going to be the foundational challenge of your high school years. These curriculums make you, the kind of tough student that graduates from high school SISB, excuse my sibilants, and gets to these universities with the ability to succeed. Now, regardless of where you come from, you will have to put a lot of work in for these curriculums, and that's a good thing. These are internationally recognized for a reason, but you are going to have to work hard. And what I often find is it's good to have a sense of what types of universities you want to aim for, because that will then inform your goals for what grades you want to get, and that will help you with your motivation to study hard for these and get some really good results. So I guess in terms of picking your best fit curriculum, here are kind of like 7 final questions that I would really think about. First of all, does this curriculum fulfill the requirements for my dream university course? So for example, if I want to get into Cambridge for engineering, I can't get into that with just SL Math and the IB. So you need to be aware of these things. At the highest level, do you want to be doing this well-rounded range of subjects, or do you want to focus? And do you prefer to do like assessments throughout the school, throughout your last 2 years, or all your exams at the end, like the IB? Do you have an aspiration to go to the US, UK, Australia, which country? And then, where do you think you're going to have a relative advantage in? And also, do I trust myself to have the sort of initiative and consistency to go beyond the requirements of my curriculum? And then, really the benefit of this wonderful school we have at SISB is that, the school offers both this dual pathway approach. And that means, all these doors are open to you. You have all the flexibility you need. You have that ability to master these grades and then unlock these amazing universities. So a lot of students are sort of, forced into a choice because their school only offers one, but you guys are in a very fantastic position with a very amazing school that offers both. And you've seen that in the wonderful university results we've discussed in the earlier slides. So with that, we'll do any question and answer. It's a real honor to present to the school today, and I hope I gave some insights into your academic journey with the school for the next couple of years.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Jamie. It has been a very informative sharing session from you, and parents and students and all school stakeholders. Like what Dr. Jamie mentioned, I think SISB school offers a very unique middle school and high school pathway for our students, right? From the at grade 7 and 8, we offer the hybrid of the Singapore and the UK curriculum, followed by the Cambridge IGCSE, and moving on. After middle school, students have a choice, and that is very important because, like what Jamie shared, some students are more suited to do the Cambridge ASA level curriculum, while others are more suitable to do the IB diploma program. So after middle school, we offer a very unique dual pathway track whereby students can then choose to decide to do the Cambridge ASA level curriculum or the IB diploma program, right? So now I will open up the session for questions and answers from parents, students. If you have any questions, please feel free to type those questions in and we will address them accordingly. I think I have seen the students and parents coming with the questions, right? So I think this question probably comes from a student, right? So this question, I will direct it to Float, right? Why did you choose the A-level curriculum, Float?
During making that decision, I think I already know what I wanted to do in university, and being able to choose like the 3 subjects that I need allows me to use my time efficiently, and with all the extracurriculars outside of school that I also wanted to do, it allows me to manage my time well, coping with 3 rather than 6 with IB. I think that's the main point there.
Okay, next question. Maybe this goes out to Julie. Julie, how has the IB diploma program changed your learning?
Regarding the IBDP program, I feel like it really enhanced my research writing and critical thinking skills, especially with all the lab reports, the IAs and EEs I had to write. It was quite rigorous, but also allowed me to undertake all these different really interesting independent projects and allowed me to be more creative and open-minded with my thoughts and my arguments. Moreover, with theory of knowledge, the TOK aspect was also really interesting to me because I had never experienced this kind of subject before in IGCSE or in my primary years. And it was definitely interesting for me to be able to think more critically and consider a lot of ethical arguments in relation to my learning. So that was really interesting. So I think IB has allowed me to pursue a very holistic and creative type of learning. Yeah.
Okay, I think the next question goes out to Jamie. Jamie, I think parents, this question comes from, I think, a parent, right? She's asking whether IB/DP or the A-level curriculum stand a higher chance of a student entering into the Ivy League universities in United States. Maybe Jamie, you are in the best position to answer this.
Yes, definitely. So you can actually get into there's a common mistake people make, which is they think that the British curriculum is good for, the A-levels is good for Britain and the IB is good for the US, but this is actually not the case. You can actually get into, the top US Ivy League schools with either curriculum. What's more important is the grades you want to aim for. So if you're aiming for the Ivy League with the A-levels, you want to get usually 4 A stars or even 5 A stars. And if you're aiming for the, Ivy League with IB, you want to usually be aiming for, 43, 42, 43 for the Ivy League. I also have received 2 more questions through direct message. Would you like me to answer those?
Yes, Jamie.
Sure. One question: what if the student doesn't know what he wants to do in university? How is she going to choose which program suits him or her? That's a great question. I think the first thing is you want to think about maximizing optionality. So let's say there's 4 different university degrees you might be considering: medicine, law, engineering, and economics, for example. You want to look at all their criteria and see if you can kind of, hit all these different criteria. So what you could do is if you took, for example, A-level, further maths, biology, chemistry, and English, you basically would be able to do any of those different subjects apart from engineering. If you do A-level math, biology, chemistry, and physics, and then you at least do AS English, you can probably do any of those things too. So you want to choose a subject mix that doesn't limit you. One of the key ways you limit yourself is if you, for example, drop math early, then that's going to cut out a lot of different subjects that you could be aiming for. Same as if you drop English quite early as well. I think even regardless of whether or not you're not like, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do at university. A lot of students aren't that sure either. And so it's important that you're just choosing subjects that give you that wide range of options. There are many degrees. For example, take economics at university. You don't need to do economics in high school to actually get into economics at university. It helps, but it's not necessary. So that's an example where like you could just do science and math if you want to, then apply for economics later. Although it's good to have economics if you can. For the IB diploma, that's naturally what curriculum should she choose? So I guess the term comprehensive assessment is a bit ambiguous here, but if you're aiming for medical schools, I think the easiest thing to do is probably take the A-levels and do biology, chemistry, physics, math, nail the grades, and boom, call it a day, you're done. So that would be probably the easiest track. If you go on the internet, you can find one of my students, Linda. She got into Cambridge for medicine recently with A-star scores of 95, 94, 97, 96 for her 4 different A-level subjects. Next question. If I don't take IG exam, is it still possible to learn A-level or IB? Yes, you can skip to A-levels. However, a lot of the time, it's quite a big jump into A-levels IB, the jump is not as bad just because you've got 2 years to kind of get these subjects done. But the jump to AS from say nothing can be quite extreme, especially for AS chemistry. That's a particularly spicy subject, I would say. So you can do it, but you just need to get ready for some hard work because the jump will be quite high. One more question I have right now in my direct messages from a student. Hi, Jamie. Hope you can help me to answer this university topic. Some great questions. Now, the school policy on this varies, but in general, the E can be on anything you like. It typically HR subjects, but and they need to be close to your chosen university program. However, it's a bit easier if it is. So if you're applying to like economics at Cambridge and you've written an extended topic about, the impact or the impact of like the Russia-Ukraine on economic stability, that's good because you can write an application. So I think normally this is an opportunity for you to work on that you're going to be applying. So I think from a strategy perspective to do that, about something totally different if you want to.
Jamie, right? I think the questions would, to advise their children on the program or program. And we question coming from, I think, a parent that probably interested in the medical program. This parents, right, will be able students who are applying to medical schools in Thailand. This question was float is this because several offers from medical school, right? So float this question.
So BMOS and this BMAT exam is administrated the A-level exam, the Cambridge exam board. I think like the content in the level and the exam style is also similar. Therefore, like doing the A-level give me a head start of preparing for the BMAT exam. And doing A-level, you have like less subjects, which give me free periods to do my hobbies such as like volleyballs and drawing. And I find that medical school look more forward into like extracurriculars that is not related to academic stuff in your portfolios.
Okay, thank you, Float. So I think as a summary to Float's answer, right? Parents, if you're because I have another question that comes up, right? If the student is more interested to apply to medical schools in Thailand, that means to go into the medical field in the universities in Thailand, right? What is a better curriculum? So parents, as I think Jamie shared before, the A-level curriculum offers more flexibility, meaning that students can adopt or can opt for triple science, whereby they do chemistry, they do physics, they do biology, and this will go some way to help them when they take the BMAT exam, which Flo shared about. But the IB, because of the fixed groupings, group 1 to 6, students must take a fixed number of subjects from each group, and that's why it offers less flexibility. Whether it enhances the application, right? I would say both curriculum are equally good, but at the end, parents and students, you have to decide that if you really, you want to enhance your BMAT score, you think that triple science will be more beneficial for you, you probably can opt for the A-level program. But if you think that, you are already, doing very well in the 3 sciences, you want a more all-rounded education, you want a more holistic education, then you can opt for the IB diploma program. And we have seen that whether you do the A-level, you do the IB diploma program, they can equally support you with your endpoint, which is application into Thai universities, Thai medical, Thai dentistry, or overseas universities, right? Next question I see here, right? Okay, Jamie, what advice would you give a student that have poor studying habits? Jamie.
That's a great question. Okay, so I think there are a couple of reasons why a student might have poor study habits. Okay, the first reason is that the student doesn't understand what they want to do in the future. So they don't see any kind of clear purpose to being at school that really links to that future. So I've seen students who want to get into, say, entrepreneurship. They want to launch their own company, and they don't really understand how being in high school helps them achieve that goal. So that way that they have less motivation. Now, in reality, getting a good set of grades, getting into a good university is the easiest way to unlock a lot of these different career paths. It's so important. And so often I think if you can kind of give that student a mentor that is quite a good fit for them, which we can help through our relationship with the school, this will be a good way to unlock some passion. That's the first thing. The second thing is, the student might have some bad influences around them in terms of like their friend group. Maybe all their friend group play video games all day. So then they basically, cannot study very hard because they're sort of distracted by this. That could be a second reason. The third reason maybe is that they haven't found their passions yet. Maybe the subjects they're taking aren't the ones they really enjoy. Maybe the fourth reason is that, they don't have kind of clear accountability as far as what their grade targets are and stuff. But the fifth reason is maybe they've never really been shown the way. I think a lot of students can break down, the idea of kind of these big long-term grades into these short-term targets around how you're doing in each assessment, each week or each couple of weeks in school. So breaking this down into like small chunks where, they can focus on getting some small wins, build that confidence and keep studying. I think a good combination of the student's intrinsic motivation and the parent's sort of willpower to make sure the student's studying hard is very necessary. So there are a couple of different tactics that I would recommend. There's a good book I recommend by a guy called Cal Newport called How to Be a 4.0 Student, which gives you many strategies to help be better at studying.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. Another question that this is somewhat relevant to what we are discussing, right? But because we are talking about the differences between A-level and IB, right? But this is somewhat related. Again, the question goes to Jamie, right? Jamie, how does Crimson help SISB students, to apply to universities after grade 10? For parents who do not know, we are working very closely with our external partner, Crimson, and they have worked very closely. Their mentors, their strategies have worked very closely with our team of university counselors and teachers, and this joint effort has helped to provide a very strong platform when students apply to universities. But maybe Jamie, you would like to share about this?
Yeah, sure. So, Crimson really brings a lot of students some fantastic support because we have sent 414 kids to the Ivy League and about 150 kids to Oxford and Cambridge. So through the relationship, the strong partnership we have, students at SISB really can get support to apply at any of these schools because we do have that extensive track record for, now about a decade helping kids to these really top universities. So definitely reach out to your school's university counseling team and they can introduce you to the Crimson team to get that personalized advice and guidance that you need. Students who work through the Crimson program normally get a university consultant, somebody like me, who's an expert in the process. Then they get different mentors for the various parts, like interview training for Oxford, Cambridge, or tutoring for like the BMAT or certain IB subjects. So we can definitely help you with some rigorous support there. But yeah, we basically work with students throughout the last several years of high school, and that helps to generate these really strong academic results because we really know how to guide the kids towards these pathways.
Thank you, Jamie. So I think with the close collaboration with Crimson, I think parents, if you join us earlier, you would have seen the fruits of labor from our students, right? Those grade 12 students, IB or A level, they have gotten into very, very good universities, University of Cambridge, Imperial College, King College, and many more even in the Asia Pacific region, Peking University, Tsinghua University, University of Hong Kong, right? In Australia, they have offers from University of Sydney, Melbourne, and so on. And in Thailand, of course, the top, very, very top university, Chulalongkorn, Mahidol, Thammasat universities, and so on, right? So you can really see that there is a place or a university pathway for each and every one of our students. Next question comes from a parent. I think this child probably is very interested in the design and architecture, right? So if a student wants to go to Indah Chula, what courses can he take? I think this question, I will answer this question, right? So Indah probably is a industrial and architecture, course. So parents, right? I from the sharing that I have, provided all of you, like this year, every student have gotten into their university that they would like to go into. What does it mean? It means that first, at the end of grade 10, we ask them what are their choice universities. And from them, our university counselors work very closely with the students, with the parents, right? Of course, together with our external partners to look at how best to maximize the opportunity that, so that our students will stand a very good chance of going to their choice university. So for this question, I would say that for this student, right, probably he or she he has to decide first whether to do the A level, the IB curriculum. But before deciding, of course, there are a set of criteria which Jamie shared, and during this session we shared. First, is your student, or is the student able to take on many subjects? Is the student flexible enough to take on many subjects? Or is the student more suitable for the A-level program that offers that flexibility, for them, right? And from there, they then decide what are the subjects to do. But of course, for industrial and industrial art and agriculture, I would say probably they have to focus on more of the art subjects, including art, right? And which we provide in SISB. When you go to grade 11, we provide a range of subjects from languages, from mathematics, from science to music to art, right? And so probably this student have to do a combination that is more geared towards preparing him for the architecture and the design courses. So I would say that if he or she is not so disciplined, he or she is more academic focused, then probably choose the A-level program. But if the parents and the child wants a more holistic education, you can do the IB diploma program, and you stand equally good chances of entering into the top university in Thailand. The next question that I see is that if a student is not so good in biology, right, which is the science subjects, Jamie, which program would suit her more, Jamie?
If the student isn't so good in the science subjects, you can actually take either, because you can really avoid most of the science subjects in either diploma. The easiest thing will probably be the A levels for you, because you can skip all the science subjects, but in IB, there's still some pretty good alternatives to science, but you normally have to take at least one. But there's, some options that are slightly easier science subjects too, that are still in the science category. So I would say the easiest will be A levels, but IB is also quite manageable. It's hard to avoid math, but you can kind of avoid science.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. I think the next question is that I think a few parents ask this question, right? In SISB school, we offer the dual track, which is the A-level program and the IB diploma program. based on your understanding of both the A-level, the Cambridge AS A-level program and the IB diploma program. Do you think that, it is better, for students to have a range of choices? Jamie.
Good question. So I've seen a lot of students succeeding from both pathways. I think, a student doing A-levels who's very gifted can always take more subjects. So like the benefit of the IB is you take these 6 subjects, but if you want to, you can just take some more subjects in the A-levels too, to kind of, boost the breadth of your program. So I think you can really be successful through both pathways here. The main criteria is if you want to do the breadth of the IB or not. I think that's really the key criteria, but both do give you definitely very good foundations for university. I think the A-levels is probably slightly easier to still get a good foundation, but avoid challenging subjects. So like if you do the A-levels and you take, for example, math and English and 2 more subjects, you're not stretched that thin. Whether the IB diploma is going to, really give you a lot of content, I would say. So yeah, I'd say both do open up those pathways, but the A-levels can be slightly easier if you want to make it easier with less subjects.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. I think the next question goes out to Float. Float, I think parents wants to know, right? How has the A-level program, supported students' application into medical school? Float.
It like studying A-level boosts my BMAT score. That's one thing for sure. And like having more time from subjects to do, I develop on my personal hobbies, and I get to initiate projects that I can also put in my portfolio, such as my community service projects. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Float. Next question, right, is can a student take GED instead? I think parents, if you are thinking, of promoting this GED, right, I think it is not a wise choice, because at the end of the day, for SISB school, we provide an international certification in the A-level and the IB program. So GED are actually really for those students who are, in terms of the academic results, they are not doing well, they still have an avenue. But many universities, from what we gathered, many Thai universities, especially the top Thai universities, are starting to reject GED and just focus on, accepting the Cambridge, the IB, or other international certification, right? Next question. Okay, this I think has been asked many times. Again, back to you, Jamie. If children are interested in the art field, not the economic or the science field, can you recommend which program would be more suitable for him or her, Jamie?
I would probably go with the A-levels, because then you can avoid things like math and you can avoid any of the sciences. So I would say if you only want to do arts, A-levels is good. If you want to do a bit of arts and a bit of science, then IB is good. But if you just want to do, art subjects, you can just do A-levels.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. And then the next question is, what happens if we make the wrong choice? Can we change? I would say parents, at the end of grade 10, really, you need to sit down with your children, of course, from the school side, and we have a counseling team together with our senior administrative team and the teachers, right? We will sit down really with the children to decide which educational pathway is more suitable for him or her at high school level. So we will sit down and we will discuss whether to do the ASA level program or the IB diploma program. But really, after that, when they go on to grade 11, they have a week or so to try out probably the IB diploma program or the Cambridge program. And during this 1 week period, if they find that they are not so suitable in the IB diploma program or the Cambridge program, they can switch. But they cannot switch in the middle of the program, because especially for IB, they specify a specific number of hours that you need to study for each subject, right? So I would say that at the end of grade 10, sit down with your teachers, with the counselors, with parents, and then decide, and then later try it out, and then make the final choice really at the start of grade 11. Next question, Mike. Okay, which curriculum will better suit my son who is planning to take aviation? I think I'm not sure this parent is referring to Thai University or overseas university, but maybe I will pass this question on to Jamie. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about aviation in international university setting, and then I will address it at the local level at the Thai university setting. Jamie.
So aviation is an interesting one, because normally the schools that offer these kind of aviation degrees are more kind of like vocational in nature. There are some programs, for example, like the Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, that offers a lot of these aviation programs, but these are quite different, I would say, to the traditional high schools you might think about when applying colleges when applying for the US. A lot of them don't have these strong aviation programs. There are some of the ones do, like I think Purdue, Ohio State has these types of programs. But you definitely want to carefully speak to our team, because your goals are going to be quite different from your peers as far as the subjects and the schools you're aiming for. Purdue, from my understanding, has the #1 program in America for aviation. And then there are other ones like Western Michigan University, for example, Ohio State, University of Alaska. But yeah, again, these are quite different to other areas. So you want to make sure you're fulfilling all the criteria, because some of these schools have got some unique criteria that you wouldn't normally do in high school unless you were going down this pathway.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. I think we have come to the end of our session. I will answer a few more questions. I will take a few more questions, and then and we will wrap up the session today, right? In terms of the application to aviation in Thai universities, of course, they look at the GPA. So if parents, you think that your child can cope with only the certain number of subjects, probably like what Jamie mentioned earlier, go for the A-level program, which will suit them because they have more flexibility and they take less subjects, right? The next question is that what is the assessment like at the end of the second year of high school, right? Again, like what Jamie shared earlier, A-level, it is just about at the end, it's the summative exam. They take it at AS level, at grade 11, and they do it at grade 12, which is the A-level exam. So they actually have 2 exams, but for IB, they have the internal assessment, which they have to continuously do during their grade 11 and 12. And at the end, they have one final external exam, which is the IB exam at the end of grade 12, right? And if a student wants to attend a university in US, which program is more suitable? I would say both are equally suitable, right? Depending on the course that you are going into, depending, like I said, I think at the end of this session, parents, the summary that we gather is that both are equally good program, but you must ask your child or student, you must ask yourself, what is the right fit for you? Which curriculum will best suit your first studying habits, to your characteristics? The third point, which is very important, how you would like to approach your exams. And lastly, what you would like to do at the end of your high school journey. So students, parents, these are the questions that you need to ask, and you can reach a decision and you can decide the type of curriculum that is suitable for you. So thank you so much, all of you, for your time. right? Parents, students, teachers. Thank you to our guest speakers, Dr. Jamie. It has been a pleasure, as always, we met the last time
Me as
round.
well, for me as well, a
Okay,
real pleasure.
I understand you are based in New York now, right?
I am, yes.
Oh, good morning to you, Jamie. And thank you so much for taking the time off. I
Thank
know,
you, it's a real joy.
right?
I hope to come back next year and see even stronger university results. I was so happy. We got one student into SISB into Cambridge from SISB, which is such a good result. So, I'm really excited to see what the students achieve this next year.
Yes, thank you, Jamie. I think this shows a very strong partnership that we have with our external partners. And I also like to thank Crimson, their strategies, their mentors who have been helping out our students so that, they really to facilitate them to enter into our choice universities together with the strong support and the hard work from our school counselors, our team of school counselors, right? Thank you so much to Julie. Julie, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah, Julie and Float. Thank you, Float.
Yes.
Right. So I think on behalf of the school and all stakeholders, I think Float and Julie, we want to wish you all the best for your upcoming IB diploma program exam to Julie, and for Float, your upcoming Cambridge A-level exam. You have, together with your classmates, I think this year you really have done SISB proud with all the universities offers that all of you have gotten. But at the end of the day, I say that this is the hard work, this is the perseverance that all of you have put in, and so that it's in line with our vision to become a scholar, which all of you have demonstrated, a leader again. Without having the leadership, I'm sure some of you would not have gotten this excellent offer. And at the end of the day, to become a global citizen, which again, all of you have demonstrated through the range of universities that you have gotten, whether it's in Thai universities or whether it's in overseas universities. So thank you so much, everyone. I hope this session has been very useful for all of you, and we will be sharing with you other sessions as well, right? Virtual meet sessions. So thank you so much. Have a good night and continue to stay safe. And I look forward to seeing all of you again. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.